Israel-Hamas war. U.S. urges transition to more targeted approach in Gaza. The head of the CIA jetted to Europe for talks with Israeli and Qatari officials Monday, sounding out the potential for a deal on a new ceasefire and the release of hostages in Gaza as the United States Defense Secretary spoke to Israeli military leaders about scaling back major combat operations against Hamas. Still, there was no sign that a shift in the war was imminent after more than 2 months of devastating bombardment and fighting. Fierce battles raged in northern Gaza, where residents said rescue workers were searching for the dead and the living under buildings flattened by Israeli strikes. Pressure is growing as France, the United Kingdom, and Germany, some of Israel's closest allies, joined global calls for a ceasefire over the weekend. Israeli protesters have demanded the government relaunch talks with Hamas on releasing more hostages after 3 were mistakenly killed by Israeli troops while waving a white flag. U.S. officials have repeatedly expressed concern about the large number of civilian deaths in Gaza. The U.S. has vetoed calls for a ceasefire at the United Nations and has rushed munitions to Israel. The war has killed more than 19,000 Palestinians and demolished much of the north, turning it into a moonscape. Some 1.9 million Palestinians, nearly 85% of Gaza's population, have fled their homes, with most packing into UN-run shelters and tent camps in the southern part of the besieged territory. In an apparent sign that talks on a hostage deal were growing more serious, CIA Director William Burns met in Warsaw with the head of Israel's Mossad intelligence agency and the Prime Minister of Qatar, a U.S. official said. It was the first known meeting of the 3 since the end of a week-long ceasefire in late November, during which some 100 hostages, including a number of foreign nationals, were freed in exchange for the release of around 240 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. Israel has said it wants around 19 women and 2 children freed first. Hamas says the women include soldiers, for whom it is expected to demand a higher price in terms of prisoner releases. Hamas and other militants are still holding an estimated 129 captives. Hamas has said no more hostages will be released until the war ends. American officials have called for targeted operations aimed at killing Hamas leaders, destroying tunnels, and rescuing hostages. U.S. President Joe Biden warned Decatur 12 that Israel is losing international support because of its indiscriminate bombing. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the Israeli chief of staff met with Austin and Brown and presented plans for the continuation of the battle in the coming stages. European countries appear to be losing patience. Under U.S. pressure, Israel provided more precise evacuation instructions earlier in December as troops moved into the southern city of Khan Yunis. Still, casualties have continued to mount and Palestinians say nowhere in Gaza is safe as Israel carries out strikes in all parts of the territory. At least 110 people were killed in Israeli strikes Sunday on residential buildings in the urban Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, Munir al-Bursh, a senior health ministry official, told Al Jazeera television. Fierce fighting continued Monday in Jabalia and the Gaza City districts of Zaytun and Shijaya, where tens of thousands of Palestinians remain trapped, crowded in homes or schools.